So it's going to be a homebrew Wednesday. I've had a few people comment on the channel and saying that they're not seeing enough brew day footage and want to see more brewing. I have been doing a lot of beer reviews of late. Fortunate enough to have Beers of Europe send me some beers to review. Obviously not everyone loves beer reviews and they want to see a bit of brewing and that. I know when I first started brewing I was watching lots of brewing videos and that. And I guess at times I think to myself, why do people still want to see me brew beer? And obviously there's new people wanting to see people brew beer, and people just love watching other brewing setups. I mean, I've got to admit, I do still watch other people brew beer from time to time, because just to see how they run their setup and what they do, it does still interest me. But the main thing, some of the reasons I don't really get footage up is, there's always children running around, and a brew day can be filmed, but it's more equipment. Often the light's really bad in my kitchen, and some people they're fortunate enough to be able to film in a garage, or they've got better light, so it adds a whole heap of problems. If I did have my own garage at my own house, you can guarantee, and that will happen one day, that there'll probably be brew footage every other week. I could guarantee that I could get it up, because I could have a little bit more space. Commend Braumeister the other day when he was doing a brew day, and he had his kids running around. He had a Steely Reserve, I have to admit, but brew day's stressful enough without camera equipment and small children running around and hot liquids. But that's another story. So I do apologise if there's not enough brewing footage to meet your quota. Most people, I have to admit, are very polite. They ask nicely in the comments section, can we see this, can we see that, which I'm fine with. But I'll have to admit, for every polite one, there's probably 2 or 3 that come through as a private message that are a little bit on the verge of rude and that, which I think at the end of the day, if you don't pay to watch things on YouTube, and if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. I'm not forcing anyone, but I will try and get more brewing footage up, but it's difficult, what can I say. But there is going to be some more equipment reviews coming up. I've got a bit more equipment ordered, different things. I'm not going to say too much yet until it comes and I've done the video. So there will be other reviews coming up, and obviously I plan that around family life and things like that. Anyway, so today it's going to be a little brew day on the Braumeister 10 litre. I'm going to do a brown porter from the Bible. Obviously the recipe is a little bit smaller. It's going to be just under 2 kilos of pale malt, 150 grams of crystal. Now it did ask for dark crystal and I don't have any of that, so I'm just using the crystal I've got, so it might come out a little bit lighter. I did up the chocolate malt a little bit to kind of offset that, but not by too much. And it had some brown malt which I ordered recently to do more porters and things like that. I was going to do a black IPA today, I have to admit, and it was very spooky. I even messaged Brewmaster Ben in the week, and he'd already been brewing a black IPA. We were talking about cold steeping, and he'd already been there and done it, and I thought that's fantastic. So I'm pretty much going to wait until his one comes out and see how he got on. But from what I've heard, cold steeping is the way to go for a smoother, rounded flavour at the end of it. You obviously need less space in the boil kettle, which is great for this. You could do a higher ABV beer, leave all your dark malts out, and get a stronger beer by putting all your kind of pale malt in and not losing space for the darker malts that are going in. So not only that, it was the hops. For the black IPA I was going to do, it was several hop additions, and it meant opening new packets of hops. And the wife's already on to me because there's too many hops in this freezer. I've got some stored in people's other freezers, and I just thought, use what I've got. And I've got a lot of Williamette in there at the moment. I've got a big bag of it from someone, so I'm going to use a bit of that in this. I think the recipe asks for Challenger or something like that, but the Williamette I've got is only about 6.4, so I've adjusted that to come in line with the Challenger. I'm going to use that for it. So I'm going to bring the camera over just to show you the mash schedule. I'm going to fill it up with water and wait for it to come to mash, and then show the dough in. Right, so hopefully we can pick this up. This is the mash schedule. It's going to dough in at 40 for 10 minutes, then rise up to 67, hold that for 60 minutes, and then a mash out for 10 minutes at 77. Boiling is set on 101 here, just so it maintains a rolling boil. That's for 70 minutes, then just 2 hop additions. So we're going to kick this off. And then select our recipe, which is going to be recipe 2. Water filled in. Yeah. Then it vents the pumps, as you can see there. And when it's actually getting up to mash temperature, it does what it calls pump break, where it lets the mash settle out. But I think often people read it and perceive that the pump's broken because it says pump break, where I don't know, maybe pump rest would have been a better wording, but anyway. So that's just the pump venting, make sure there's no air in the system. I think it does that a few times before it then goes on to the next step of ramping up. Obviously I've got the very lovely designer looking camping mat on there. You can, I believe now, get the 10 litre version thermo collar, but the camping mat works just as well, you know, and it's £4 versus 40 quid or something like that, which is quite a lot for what it is. Right, so there we go, we're at 21.5 at the moment and we're ramping up to 40 degrees. When we get there we'll cut back and mash in. So the Braumeister's beeping away because it's got to 40 degrees achieved. Click OK and it will say fill in with the malt, which we're going to do now. So you obviously got to make sure that you've got the bottom meshes in there, otherwise you have a disaster. Did I do it once? Yeah, I think I have done it once. And it's not a good thing to have to do. The only thing I do find, I need kind of like a scoop, because when you do put it in, you've got to be very careful not to get it on the outer edge, because that's where the pump is, and if you're going to cycle through bits of grain in there, it's going to block the pump or maybe break the impellers on the pump itself. So when you can get the dome, which acts as a funnel as well, because you upturn it, put it there, pour all the grain in, and it runs through that dome. But other than that, a scoop would be better. So I'm going to scoop this all in and then we'll cut back a bit. Alright, so we're all doughed in. Just going to add the filter plates first. Wing nut to clamp it down. Then we are gonna, malt's filled in. It's gonna just pump through and recirculate that mash for 10 minutes at the 40 degree, and then you'll see it coming up through the pipe and over the edge. And hopefully as it goes on towards the end it will clear out, or as clear as it can be for a dark beer. We'll cut back into the next steps. So we're 20 minutes into a 60-minute mash. I've got the kettle boiling to get some sparge water for later on. And just have a little look. It is looking a little bit darker now. It was looking a bit yellowy at first, but it's getting more up to the colour and quite clear as well, if you can pick that up through the sunlight. We're just in the mash out stage, 10-minute mash out. I've boiled the kettle, put some in a jug, then I'll adjust it a bit more hot water to get to that sparge temperature. I'm only sparging with 2 litres, so it's not an issue of getting out extra pans and whatnot. So while that 10 minutes is on, I think I'll cut off and do a beer review. Right, just wanted to catch that. It actually says deactivation of pump to loosen the malt, duration 1 minute. And you'll see that it just totally settles. You can see how the wort is when it's not going to steam up. Really quite clear now. This should be coming back on in any second, and we'll see it restart up. There we go. And it's lovely. It's really darkened up now. Initially it was looking a little bit yellowy, to say the least, almost like a strange curry colour. I don't know why, but it's darkened up nice now. So we are 6 minutes into the mash out, and we'll be bringing it up to boil, which is another reason for doing the mash out I like, is it's getting it that little step closer to getting it to boiling temperature. Now today I'm going to be doing a no chill just to cut time down. You know, the wife and kids will be back soon, so what I'm more than likely to do, I will try and keep filming the rest of the process, lifting the pipes, barging and that, but I might cut the sound out in case there's any kind of dramas, and then kind of redub some of my own voiceover over it. But that's pretty much going to be it. I do use the no chill cube more for the darker beers. I don't think I've still quite perfected, or trust is not the right word, but with hoppy beers it's kind of a little bit hit and miss. There's no kind of real science or definite sort of, you know, evidence of what is the best temperature, you know, and the hop scheduling. You know, there's still a lot of experimentation to be done. So with dark beers where they have a very low hop schedule, a bitter in and one sort of at the end, or especially for stouts where they just have the bitter in, I think it's fine because there's not really much more going on after the boil's done and it's still hot in the cube. But with the hoppy beers, it's been a bit hit and miss for me. I had some great beers, but compared to the last beer that I did on the Braumeister, and I chilled it down, the Amarillo one, though I'm not overly enamoured with Amarillo hops anymore, and for me I'm still getting like not a twang, but I can detect something in my hoppy beers. I think possibly the only thing that's going to be next for me is water profiling. It's something I've not got into, kind of just because, not to say, you know, I understand why people do it, it's great, and you know, I like the science behind it, but it's just the time, but I do need to sort of go that avenue a little bit more and sort of get my water tested, see what's there, you know, see if I can nail that, especially with a system like this. You know, it gives you more time to kind of concentrate on all that. But even with my brewing in the bag induction set, you know, it is a time saver. I mashed the night before, so I should get into water treatments and see if it can improve my beer. But the only trouble for me is being in the flat. I don't always get to, well, never really, unless the weather's stable, to get brewing under temperature controlled situations. So it might be a little bit pointless for me to be doing water conditioning and things like that, for it to just all go tits up when it comes to the fermentation. So it's almost a bit of a wasted effort. So at the point in time I'm kind of winging it until I've got my fermentation fridge where I brew all the time. I do have one at my parents' house, but that it can be a fussy brew day because I've got to take my equipment over there. You know, it just gets long-winded. So I'm up in the air about, you know, treating the water and whatnot as yet. But if it's as simple as, you know, adding some of that, you know, that pH buffer stuff you get the Star San, I might go down that route. I'm not sure, but you know, I think personally as well, I need to probably send my beer into some more sort of competitions and things like that, because not to say that I don't appreciate any of the reviews that people give me and that, but I'm never sure that, you know, I would tell someone if they brewed a bad beer and if I could taste something bad. Now I did it with Braumeister Ben. I think I've told other people, you know, and I know they're pretty honest back in that, but just sometimes, you know, we're all just home brewers and I think we love beer, but obviously when you send it into these competitions, they're overly critical. They analyse it because they're comparing it against sort of like commercial beers. So you get kind of well, hopefully in some of these competitions you get a good feedback. So it would be interesting next year, I think, for me to start sending a few beers off just to see what people can detect in it, what is wrong, you know, and such. So actually that is the end of the mash now. So all the camera's still on. So remove malt pipe. I'm going to take my lid off. Now, I haven't actually got my gloves, but just found one. The wing nut gets very hot, obviously. Let me just bring you a little bit closer. Hopefully you can see. Let's take the wing nut off. In the bar. I'm gonna obviously being a 10 litre unit, that is a hell of a lot easier than the lifting up. Probably even the 20 litre model. I see a lot of people with winches and pulleys. This model, when it's so small, it's really easy. I'm going to let that drain through a little bit. Then we're going to pour our sparge water literally just in the top. I know some people take the filters off, give it a stir and that, but To be honest, I can't be fussed with messing around. I'd just rather pour it on top and let it filter through. Right, so I'm just going to pour our sparge water gently over the top. Just let it filter through the grain bed. So I've just emptied the malt pot. I don't know what other people do with their grain, but I tend to use a bag that's got no holes in it for my crushed grain when it goes into either my other pot or into this one today. And when it comes to emptying the wet grain, it goes back in that same bag and out in the in the rubbish. But I know some people compost them or make cookies and things like that. But it's a good tip to reuse the bag for the dry grain after you've milled them, and then use it for the wet grain to get rid of it later on. And as you can see, halfway through, even before the boil's gone, we've got half the equipment washed up. Filter plates are washed out, coffee stuff. But it certainly cuts down a lot of the brewing time if you can get that part washed before the end of the brew day. Right, we have reached boil, so we're going to add our first batch of hops to remember at the actual. I was going to test out using a hop filter on this, but one I've used from an old bazooka, but I think I'll just go with an old brew in a bag to keep cleaning a little bit easier. Let's answer that. Prod these down a little bit. And that's it till the next step.